sleeping with the enemy, my sister, my husband. She stole my husband, but she didn't steal my revenge. This is the story of betrayal that cut through bloodlines and the payback that burned hotter than any affair. When Emma discovered that her husband and her younger sister were hiding a devastating secret, her world collapsed. Betrayed by the two people she trusted most, she was left with nothing but rage, heartbreak, and a thirst for revenge. But Emma wasn't the type to suffer in silence. In the heart of suburban America, she begins a calculated plan, one that turns lies into weapons, exposes secrets in the daylight, and shatters the bond between her sister and husband. This is not just a story of betrayal, it's a saga of vengeance, justice, and a woman reclaiming her power. The perfect marriage cracks. The morning sun poured gently through the wide windows of Emma Carter's suburban home. Outside, the small town of Maplewood, Massachusetts, was alive with its usual charm: kids on bicycles, neighbors waving while jogging, the distant hum of lawnmowers trimming neat yards. Inside, everything looked as polished as the perfect American dream. A beautiful house, tasteful furniture, family photos on the wall, and the smell of fresh coffee wafting from the kitchen. Emma had always believed she was living the life most women long for. At 32, she was married to Daniel Carter, a tall, successful financial consultant with a smile that could disarm anyone. Their marriage, at least to the outside world, was flawless. They had been married for 8 years, celebrated anniversaries in style, went on vacations twice a year, and hosted Thanksgiving dinners that neighbors gushed about for weeks afterward. But perfection, Emma was learning, had cracks. It began with the smallest of details changes that anyone else might overlook. Daniel had always been attentive, the type of husband who noticed when she got her hair done, who brought her flowers without needing an occasion. Lately, though, his eyes seemed distant, distracted, as if his body was present, but his mind wandered elsewhere. That morning, Emma placed a plate of scrambled eggs and toast in front of him. Big day at the office? She asked, watching him scroll quickly through his phone. Yeah, Daniel muttered without looking up. Lots of meetings. Might be home late. He barely touched his food, downed half a cup of coffee, and grabbed his briefcase. Emma smiled, hiding her disappointment. Don't work too hard. He kissed her cheek, quick, mechanical, nothing like the warm affection he used to give. When the door shut behind him, Emma sat alone at the table, her eggs growing cold. She told herself she was imagining things. Marriages went through phases, didn't they? Maybe it was just stress. But something gnawed at her, an instinct only a wife could feel. Later that day, as she tidied the living room, Emma's phone buzzed. It was her younger sister, Lily. Hey sis, mind if I drop by tonight? I miss you. Emma smiled. Lily was 27, vibrant and free-spirited, the kind of woman who turned heads effortlessly. She'd been staying single after a string of failed relationships, and Emma was always happy to have her over. Family was family, after all. Of course, Emma texted back. Dinner's at 7. Bring your appetite. That evening, Lily breezed in, her long blonde hair shining under the lights, her perfume filling the air like sweet temptation. She hugged Emma tightly, laughing as they caught up on gossip and childhood memories. When Daniel walked through the door, tired and loosened tie hanging around his neck, Lily's face lit up. Danny! She exclaimed, rushing over to hug him. Emma watched as Daniel's eyes softened in a way they hadn't for her in weeks. It was subtle, a flash of warmth, a flicker of something unspoken, but Emma caught it. Her chest tightened, though she forced a smile. The three of them ate dinner together, Lily teasing Daniel about his strict diet, Daniel laughing harder than Emma had seen in months. When Lily left later that night, Emma cleaned the dishes in silence, her mind replaying every glance, Every smile exchanged between her husband and her sister, something was wrong. The next morning, as Emma gathered laundry, Daniel's phone buzzed. A minute stand. She wasn't the type to snoop, but her hand hesitated, trembling, before she picked it up. A single text message glowed on the screen. Last night was fun. Can't wait to do it again. The sender's name froze her blood. Lily. Emma, single quotes as breath caught in her throat. She dropped the phone like it burned her, staggering back until her legs hit the bed. Her mind screamed, no, this can't be. She's my sister. Her hands shook violently as she tried to convince herself there had to be another explanation. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe Lily was teasing Daniel about something harmless. Maybe she misunderstood, but deep down Emma knew. The cracks in her perfect marriage weren't just stress or bad timing. They were the early signs of something darker, something that would destroy everything she thought was unbreakable. She sat in the quiet room, staring at the phone as if it were a bomb about to go off, and whispered to herself, they wouldn't, not Daniel, not Lily, not them. Yet the doubt had already taken root. And Emma's life would never be the same again. My sister's smile, Emma couldn't erase the text from her mind. It was burned into her memory, the little red heart at the end mocking her, twisting into her like a knife. But when Lily arrived again that weekend, she acted as if nothing was wrong. She came bouncing into Emma's kitchen, arms full of groceries, her laughter bright and sweet like it had always been. Surprise. Lily beamed, setting a bag of fresh pasta and wine on the counter. I thought we could cook together, just like when we were kids. Emma forced a smile. That's nice of you. As they cooked, Emma studied her sister carefully. Lily was radiant, carefree, her green eyes flashing as she teased Emma about her cooking skills. But Emma noticed the subtle things now, how Lily lingered when Daniel entered the kitchen, how her smile widened just a bit too much when he laughed at her jokes. At dinner, Emma sat silently as her husband and sister carried most of the conversation. Daniel leaned in when Lily spoke, his eyes bright, his hand brushing hers once too casually when passing the wine. Emma's stomach churned. Every laugh felt like a betrayal, every glance a secret language she wasn't part of. After Lily left that night, Emma confronted Daniel. You've been different, she said quietly, standing in the dimly lit living room. You laugh with her more than you do with me. Do you still love me? Daniel blinked, startled. Emma, what are you talking about? She's your sister. Don't be ridiculous. But his tone was sharp, defensive, not reassuring. Emma swallowed the lump in her throat, nodding silently. But as she lay awake that night beside him, she could still hear Lily's laughter echoing in her mind, and she knew with growing certainty that her sister's smile was no longer innocent. The late nights began. The weeks that followed turned Emma's unease into full-blown suspicion. Daniel began working late, at least that's what he claimed. He stopped eating dinner at home regularly, offering vague excuses about last-minute meetings, client emergencies, and deadlines. Emma tried to believe him. Truth behind the door, Emma hadn't slept. The images from last night, the kiss, the embrace, the way Daniel and Lily disappeared into that hotel played again and again in her mind. Each time it hit her like a hammer, stealing her breath. By the next evening, she needed certainty, evidence, something undeniable. Daniel told her he had another late-night meeting. His words were smooth, casual, as if he believed she was still the trusting wife he once knew. But this time, Emma followed again. Her car trailed his through winding streets, her knuckles white against the wheel. The neon lights of the same hotel appeared, glowing like a cruel reminder. Daniel parked. Minutes later, Lily arrived, wearing a silk blouse too, revealing for a sisterly visit. Emma's heart screamed. She left her car, keeping to the shadows. Quietly, she followed them inside, her pulse racing with dread. The hotel hallway smelled of cheap air freshener, and the carpet muffled her shaking footsteps when Daniel unlocked the door to room 214. Emma slipped closer. Her trembling hand pressed against the wall as she leaned near the door, listening. Laughter. A woman's laugh she knew by heart. Lily's. Then Daniel's voice, low and intimate. God, you're beautiful. Sound of lips meeting. Close rustling. Emma staggered back, bile rising in her throat. Tears stung her eyes, but beneath the heartbreak, something else stirred rage. Pure, burning rage. She raised her phone with shaking hands and snapped a picture through the small crack as the door closed. It wasn't perfect, but enough to capture. Daniel's arm around Lily's waist, their closeness undeniable. The truth wasn't just suspicion anymore. She had proof, and she knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Betrayal's bite Emma waited until the next morning to confront Daniel. She wanted to see his lies, hear how far he would go to protect his betrayal. He came downstairs in a crisp shirt, sipping his coffee like nothing had changed. Emma placed her phone on the table, the photo of him and Lily on the screen. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. Explain this. Daniel froze. His jaw clenched, his eyes darting to hers, then away. That's not what it looks like. He muttered. Emma laughed bitterly, the sound sharp and broken. Not what it looks like? You're kissing my sister in a hotel room. Tell me, Daniel. What does it look like? He slammed the mug down. Emma, you're paranoid. You've always been dramatic. She needed comfort. Comfort? Emma's voice rose. By taking her to a hotel? By touching her like that? The room shook with her fury. Then Lily's voice cut through the air. She wanted to find out. Lily said coolly, stepping into the living room. She'd let herself in with her spare key, her eyes glittering with defiance. Now she knows. Emma's stomach dropped. Her sister stood there, unapologetic, lips curved into a smug smile. How could you? Emma whispered. You're my sister, Lily shrugged. You never deserved him. You were boring, predictable. He needed passion. I gave him that. The words sliced through Emma like a blade. Daniel said nothing, only staring at the floor, his silence worse than denial. Emma's hands shook, but her voice came out cold. You can both rot in hell. She walked away, locking herself in her bedroom, the sound of their voices muffled behind her. She collapsed onto the bed, sobs racking her body. For hours she lay there, shattered. But as the tears dried, something hardened inside her. If Daniel and Lily thought she would simply break, they were wrong. Emma Carter was done crying. Chapter 6. Broken but not defeated days passed in a blur. Emma moved through the house like a ghost, avoiding Daniel, ignoring Lily's attempts to flaunt her victory. At night, she sat awake staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with images of their betrayal. But she also began to imagine something else, scenarios where they paid for what they had done. It was during one of those sleepless nights that her best friend, Maya Rodriguez, dropped by. Maya had been Emma's rock since college, fierce, outspoken, and loyal to the bone. Emma finally broke down in her arms, telling her everything. The hotel, the photo, the confrontation. Maya's eyes blazed with fury. That bastard. And your sister? Emma, this isn't just betrayal, it's war. Emma wiped her tears. What do I do, Maya? My whole life is falling apart. Maya cupped her chin. No, they think they've won, but they don't know who they're dealing with. You're stronger than this. You don't just survive, you strike back. Emma stared at her, the spark of something dangerous igniting in her chest. That night, she opened her laptop and began her first move digging. Bank accounts, emails, social media. She started saving everything: suspicious transfers, late-night messages, inconsistencies in Daniel's financial records. She wasn't sure yet how she would use it. But one thing was certain, she would not be their victim. She would become their nightmare. Planting the seeds, Emma's house no longer felt like a home, it was a battlefield. Daniel moved through it with icy silence, while Lily visited shamelessly, flaunting her victory with subtle smirks and taunting looks. But Emma had changed. Wasn't crying anymore. She wasn't begging for answers. Instead, she was watching, calculating, taking notes. Every phone call Daniel made in hushed tones. Every time Lily arrived in her red convertible, parking just far enough away as if secrecy still mattered. Every suspicious bank withdrawal. She recorded it all at night. She stayed awake compiling evidence, photos, screenshots, emails, even recordings of Daniel's whispered phone calls. Each file went into a secret folder she named Justice, but Emma knew revenge wasn't just about exposing the truth. It was about destroying them piece by piece, so slowly they didn't realize the trap until it snapped shut. The first seed she planted was subtle. She called Lily one afternoon, voice carefully controlled. "You know," Emma said, "Daniel's been acting strange with me, distant. I can't shake the feeling." "Maybe you're not the only one." Silence on the line. Then Lily's sharp laugh. "Nice try, Emma. He loves me, not you." Emma smirked to herself. She'd planted the doubt. That seed would grow, and Lily's jealousy would do half her work. For her, the first strike Emma knew Daniel's career was his pride, his reputation, his shield. To hurt him where it mattered, she needed to take that away. Through her digging, she found questionable transactions funds transferred into private accounts, shady dealings with clients. Daniel had always been reckless with money, but now it was all in black and white. With Maya's help, Emma prepared an anonymous envelope. Inside, photocopies of financial records, a USB stick with recordings, and a typed letter warning Daniels, firm about serious misconduct. She mailed it to his boss. 2 weeks later, Daniel came home pale, slamming the door hard enough to shake the walls. "They're investigating me," he spat, pacing the living room. "Someone leaked documents to corporate. Do you know what this means? My entire career could be ruined." Emma sat quietly on the couch, sipping her tea, masking the satisfaction curling inside her. "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding." Daniel glared at her, suspicion flashing in his eyes. But he didn't dare accuse her. Not yet. For the first time in weeks, Emma smiled to herself as he stormed upstairs. The first strike had landed, turning sister against sister if Daniel's weakness was his career, Lily's was insecurity. She wanted to feel like the chosen one, the special one. Emma would turn that need into poison dot she called Lily again. This time late at night when she knew Daniel was with her. "You really think he's faithful to you?" Emma whispered into the phone. "You're just a phase, Lily. That's all you've ever been. Ask him who else he's been texting." "Shut up," Lily snapped. But her voice trembled. "Check his phone," Emma pressed. "See how many secrets he's still keeping?" The next day, Maya reported back because Maya, resourceful as ever, had someone watching Lily's place. She saw Lily storm out, her face twisted with fury, Daniel chasing after her. Shouting in the driveway, Emma's lips curled into a smile. She didn't need to tear them apart with her own hands. She just needed to light the match. The fire between them would burn itself out, and when the ashes settled, Emma would be the one standing. Public humiliation Thanksgiving had always been Emma's favorite holiday. Her house was usually filled with warmth, laughter, and the comforting aroma of roasted turkey. But this year, Emma wasn't preparing a celebration. She was preparing a stage. Family and friends gathered around her dining table, passing dishes and exchanging cheerful conversation. Daniel sat stiffly at the head, Lily glowing beside him as if daring Emma to break. Emma waited until dessert. The moment the pumpkin pie hit the table, She rose, holding a neat stack of photographs and printed text messages. "I'd like to make a toast," she said, her voice ringing clear. The room fell silent. She turned to Daniel and Lily, her lips curling into something between a smile and a snarl. "To my husband and to my sister, the perfect couple." Gasps erupted as she scattered the photos across the table. Images of Daniel and Lily entering the hotel. Screenshots of Lily's messages filled with red hearts and promises. Chairs scraped back. Forks clattered. Daniel's face drained of color. Lily stammered, her hands shaking as she tried to grab the papers. "She's lying. These are fake." But the evidence was undeniable. Emma's voice cut through the chaos. "For 8 years, I loved this man. And for 27 years, I trusted my sister. Tonight, you all get to see what betrayal looks like." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by murmurs of disgust from relatives and friends. Emma walked out, head high, leaving Daniel and Lily in a pit of shame. Their reputations shattered before the people who mattered most. It wasn't the end. But it was a beautiful beginning. Stripped of power, the fallout was immediate. Daniel's firm, already suspicious, now had more reason than ever to dig deeper. Within weeks, he was suspended, his accounts frozen pending investigation. Emma watched from the sidelines as his carefully crafted image unraveled. The confident, successful man who once commanded boardrooms now sat on the couch day after day, unemployed, drowning in whiskey and regret. "Emma, you don't understand," he pleaded one night, eyes bloodshot. "They're trying to ruin me. I need your help, please." Emma tilted her head, pretending to consider it. "Funny," she said softly. "I needed your help once too, but you were too busy with Lily." His face twisted in anger. He stormed out, slamming the door. But Emma wasn't done. She leaked more details of shady deals Daniel had hidden for years. Friends stopped returning his calls. Former colleagues whispered his name like a warning. And Lily? She wasn't spared either. She had thought she'd won the prize. Instead, she got a broken man with no career, no money, and no respect. Emma smiled to herself as she watched from afar. The higher they had flown, the harder they were falling. Sisterly War Lily appeared at Emma's door late one evening, eyes wild, her voice trembling with fury. "This is your fault," she shouted, shoving past Emma into the living room. "You've been poisoning him against me, spreading lies, ruining everything." Emma folded her arms, calm and cold. "No, Lily, you ruined everything the moment you touched my husband." Lily's face twisted. "You think you're so perfect, don't you? You always had everything Mom and Dad's love, the nice house, the respect. I was always the shadow. Well, Daniel chose me. He wanted me, not you." The words stabbed, but Emma refused to flinch. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice a whisper sharp as glass. "He didn't choose you, Lily. He used you. Just like he used me. And when he's done dragging you down, you'll see you're nothing more than a replacement." For the first time, doubt flickered in Lily's eyes. Emma smirked. "Tell me, does he still kiss you the way he kissed me? Or is he too busy drowning his career in whiskey?" Lily's lips parted, trembling with rage. She lunged forward, her hand raised, but Emma caught her wrist mid-her. "Don't," Emma said darkly. "You've already taken enough from me. If you try again, I'll take everything from you." Lily ripped her hand free and stormed out, slamming the door. Emma stood in the silence that followed, her heart pounding. For the first time in months, she felt strong. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was war between sisters, and only one of them would walk away victorious. The final blow. Daniel was unraveling. He slept on the couch, surrounded by empty bottles. Calls from lawyers went unanswered. Creditors began showing up at the door. Emma could have stopped it. She could have thrown him a lifeline. But instead, She tightened the noose dot with Maya's help. Emma compiled everything. Daniel's hidden debts, illegal financial dealings, even his secret gambling habit. She packaged it neatly and sent it to the authorities. The knock on the door came at dawn. Daniel staggered half asleep as officers pushed inside, presenting a warrant. His face crumpled when they slapped cold steel cuffs around his wrists. "Emma!" he shouted as they dragged him toward the squad car. "You set me up. You'll regret this." Emma stood in her robe at the doorway, her expression calm, almost serene. "No, Daniel, I didn't set you up. You did that all by yourself?" Lily arrived minutes later, hair disheveled, panic in her eyes. She clutched Emma's arm. "Help him. You have to help him." Emma turned slowly, meeting her sister's desperate gaze. "Why would I save the man who ruined me and the sister who betrayed me?" Lily's mouth opened, but no words came. For the first time, Emma saw fear in her sister's eyes. And it was beautiful. Picking up the pieces, the house was quiet again, but it no longer felt empty. Emma had survived the storm, and now she was rebuilding. She sold Daniel's car, closed his accounts, and began applying for jobs. She found a position at a local nonprofit, work that gave her purpose and independence. Therapy sessions became her sanctuary. She learned to breathe through the anger, to let the pain flow out instead of swallowing her whole. One Saturday morning, she drove to the coast, standing barefoot on the sand as the waves crashed against the shore. The rising sun painted the horizon in soft gold. For the first time in months, she felt freed up. Maya joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulder. "You did it," she whispered. "You didn't just survive, you won." Emma smiled faintly. "I thought revenge would destroy me, but it saved me. It gave me back my power." Behind them, the world that once betrayed her was still spinning. Daniel facing trial, Lily isolated and despised by family. But Emma no longer carried their weight. Her scars remained, but they no longer defined her. Revenge complete months later, Emma stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom. The woman staring back wasn't the broken wife who had once wept into her pillow. Her eyes were sharper, her stance stronger. The reflection of a survivor. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. It was Maya, holding a bottle of wine. "Celebration time," she grinned. "To new beginnings." Emma took the glass, lifting it in a quiet toast. To freedom. To strength. To never letting anyone steal my life again. They clinked glasses, laughter filling the room. As the evening stretched on, Emma sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. Daniel had lost everything. Lily had vanished into obscurity, a shadow of the woman she once was. Emma, however, had risen, not just from betrayal, but from the ashes of a war she had fought and won. And as she whispered to herself that night before bed, her voice was calm, steady, uncheckable. "They slept with the enemy, but I became their reckoning."